From Lagos, Nigeria, this is News Central. I'm Felicity Ezewike. Top stories tonight. Appeal Court holds enforcement of reinstatement of Muhammadu Sanusi II as Emir of Kano. No end in sight to Rivers political crisis as lawmakers adjourn plenary indefinitely following Governor Fubara's letter stating his intention to represent 2025 budget. Canada's new Prime Minister Mark Carney vows his country would never become part of the U.S. as it faces trade war standoff with President Trump.
In business, Nigeria's manufactured exports surged 110% to 494.2 billion naira despite quarterly decline.
And in sport, Enugu State set to make history as it prepares to host its first ever international marathon.
All of these and more shortly. The Court of Appeal in Abuja has halted the reinstatement of Muhammadu Sanusi II as the Emir of Kano. This follows a unanimous decision by a three-member panel of justices led by Justice Okuama. The ruling puts on hold the implementation of the January 10 judgment, which advocated the nullification of Sanusi II's appointment by Kano State High Court due to lack of jurisdiction. The January earlier judgment, delivered by Justice Gabriel Kolawole, had emphasized that the nullification of Sanusi's appointment was done without the required jurisdiction. Consequently, the court ordered the transfer of the suit to the Kano State High Court. However, the appellate court has now agreed to halt the enforcement of their earlier judgment pending the appeal before the Supreme Court. Justice Bank noted that the subject matter before the court needs to be preserved, given that Sanusi II had served as emir for 5 years before his removal. As such, he deserves the right to protection. This development effectively puts Sanusi II's reinstatement on hold, pending further legal proceedings. In another development, the Nigerian government has responded to recent allegations of targeted killings of Christians, dismissing the claims as misleading. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs reacted after reports surfaced that the U.S. House Foreign Affairs Subcommittee on Africa had authorized President Donald Trump to impose sanctions on Nigeria over the alleged widespread killings of Christians and rising religious violence. This decision followed a congressional hearing on Wednesday where lawmakers condemned the government for not protecting Christian communities from escalating attacks. Acting military spokesperson rejected the claims, describing them as part of a broader campaign to influence foreign governments and push for Nigeria's designation as a country of particular concern due to violence. For years, the lack of accurate data collection has been a major challenge across many African countries, affecting research, development, and policy making. Experts believe artificial intelligence could change this if the right tools are developed to fit Africa's unique needs. At this year's Lagos Open Data Day, stakeholders and tech experts gathered to discuss how homegrown AI solutions could be the key to solving Africa's data gaps. News Center's Bernadette Kede reports.
Recently, I was in one of the states in Nigeria where the government had declared free basic education, and as beautiful as that may look, to say that is a good thing, but the state soon realized that they have created more problems than solutions.
111. Across Africa, inadequate data collection has long been a barrier to effective planning and development, but with the rise of artificial intelligence, experts say this challenge could soon be overcome if the technology is developed indigenously. At the Lagos Open Data Day, stakeholders explored the need for AI tools specifically designed to address Africa's data challenges.
Quite a number of AI tools now everywhere, but the advantage of an homegrown tool like Bimi that we launched today is that it can answer our requests more accurately. Right? I mean, we have tested some other AI platform where we ask for revenue of a particular state in Nigeria, and you will see generalization using maybe extrapolation from maybe GDP to be able to get what a revenue of a particular state would be. But with Bimi, that will not be the case.
You can use computers.
AI tools have come to stay, and they no doubt make work and life easier. However, building of AI tools in this part of the world come with challenges.
Building AI is not just like every tech tool out there. AI is very, very expensive to build. First, the cost is a whole lot. Then when we look at the frameworks, they are not clear frameworks that helps the ethics of AI in Nigeria. So we also try to narrow our tool to ensure that it is limited to the kind of stuff that we do.
Data is garbage in, garbage out.
While there is growing enthusiasm about building homegrown AI solutions, experts warn that proper regulations must be put in place to ensure responsible use and implementation.
The only issue that we are going to suffer in terms of AI is if we do not have a policy that guides the functionality of AI in Nigeria. As it stands now, we do not have like a strategy that we are using. It is still something that is still being built in the works, it's in the pipeline.
I'm not sure we can overflog it.
The hope is that with more African-built AI solutions, data collection will become more efficient and accurate, paving the way for better governance, research, and economic growth. In Lagos for News Central, Bernard Akede.
Many thanks, Bernard. The Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, says it has encountered significant obstacles in its efforts to counter terrorism within the sub-region. The situation has been worsened by the withdrawal of certain member states from the regional bloc. News Central's Igbalani Omoni evaluates the consequences that the actions and inactions of the regional bloc have had on the region as a whole.
The human cost of terrorism in the West African region is staggering. Communities have been displaced, livelihoods destroyed, and countless lives lost. The region's economy has also suffered significantly, with trade and investment dwindling due to security concerns. Across the region, over 33 million people have been displaced due to regional insecurity in the past year. While the regional body has established a counter-terrorism plan, its implementation has been hindered by funding constraints. The situation is further complicated by the withdrawal of 3 member states, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, from ECOWAS. These countries have formed the Alliance of Sahel States (AES), which has criticized ECOWAS for its lack of counter-terrorism support. But are they doing any better in terms of handling terrorism? And what is ECOWAS doing?
ECOWAS sees the security of each and every one of us to be closely tied, and for that reason, security collaboration will continue at all levels, not only within West Africa, but across the region, across the continent.
While Niger's military government has faced criticism for its handling of security issues, Mali and Burkina Faso have also struggled with ongoing jihadist insurgencies, which have led to significant humanitarian crises and displacement of populations.
And I suspect that each of these countries is going to start working by itself instead of working together or working in a group. So the competitiveness of those countries is going to be reduced. And as I said earlier, that is going to be reflected in higher costs of goods, of services, of transport, and other facilitation of trade among those regions.
Member states call for collective approach to tackling the violent extremism in the region, rather than countries prioritizing national security initiatives which fragment response to threat.
In this regard, I am pleased to highlight the activation of the ECOWAS standby force to combat terrorism in the sub-region. The activation of this force underscores our collective determination to confront the scourge of terrorism with regards to insecurity and ensure the safety and security of our citizens.
Noting that the fight against terrorism in West Africa is far from over, stakeholders say a united and coordinated effort can overcome this threat and build a safer, more prosperous region for all. In Lagos for News Central, Igbalani Omoni.
Let's take you to the southeast of Nigeria, where the Abia State Commissioner of Police, Danladi Issa, has apologized over the recent assault of some staff of a popular club in Umuahia by some of his men. A senior police officer was said to have tried to gain entry into the premises of the club with grilled meat purchased elsewhere, but was resisted by the bouncers, leading to the policeman calling for reinforcement. Chaos ensued after 2 more policemen arrived and attacked the officers. CP Issa, who tendered this apology while answering questions from journalists in Mvosi Isialangwa South local government area, is assuring that the matter is being followed up to ensure justice is served.
For the entire state, I apologize on behalf of the command for that ungrateful incident that took place, and I hope it's not going to happen again in the state under my leadership. Well, it's a product of overzealousness and unprofessionalism because the officers involved were not professional in carrying out that their statutory duty when they were called. And presently, they have been arrested and they are undergoing interrogation at the CID, their invitation at the CID. We're going to do all what is humanly possible to make sure that there is justice, and at the end of the investigation, the policemen who are involved with this.
Coming up, Okuama community marks first anniversary of slain Nigerian soldiers ambushed by unidentified assailants. We have a special report on this when we return. Do stay with us. You're watching tonight on News Central. A reminder of our top stories. Appeal Court halts enforcement of reinstatement of Muhammadu Sanusi II as Emir of Kano. No end in sight as Rivers political crisis as lawmakers adjourn plenary indefinitely. Canada's new Prime Minister Mark Carney vows his country would never become part of U.S. as it faces trade war standoff with President Trump. Glad you're still here. We told you earlier that the Court of Appeal in Abuja has halted the reinstatement of Muhammadu Sanusi II as the Emir of Kano. This follows a unanimous decision by a 3-member panel of justices led by Justice Okuama. The ruling puts on hold the implementation of the January 10 judgment, which had vacated the nullification of Sanusi II's appointment by Kano State High Court due to a lack of jurisdiction. The January earlier judgment, delivered by Justice Gabriel Kolawole, had emphasized that the nullification of Sanusi's appointment was done without the required jurisdiction. Joining me now to discuss this development is a legal practitioner, Abia Hikima. Thank you for giving us your time. What are the
Thank you very much for having me.
We're glad you could make it. Talk to us about the key legal arguments presented by the Appeal Court in halting the enforcement of Sanusi's reinstatement.
Well, if you want to get the most of today's ruling, it is not actually a judgment, it's a ruling of the court, and ruling and judgment are two different things. So if you want to get the most of today's ruling, one has to understand two previous...
Please, before you go further, could you explain the difference between a ruling and a judgment? Because, I mean, one would expect anything from the court is an order.
In the legal parlance, a judgment is the final judgment, deciding the rights and obligation of the parties, while a ruling could be an opinion of the court with regards to a juncture or a point in the proceedings. So what the court has done today is to simply give its opinion to the interlocutory appeal, because it is important to understand that the ruling today is on an interlocutory appeal, not even a substantive appeal. And that is the more reason why it should be called a ruling of the court. But both ruling and a judgment are opinions of the court, only that one finally determines the right and obligation, and the other one merely pronounces on a juncture of the case.
So what's the implication of this ruling on the case? Because it is a complex one.
It is a complex one, and I think to simply simplify whatever has happened today, one has to cast his mind back to at least two previous set of events that have taken place before now. You could all remember before now that I will just talk about one of the judgments, because there are two judgments that there were two cases at the trial court, one before the Kano State High Court and the other one before the Federal High Court. But I will only talk about the one before the Federal High Court because it is the one that has to do with today's ruling of the Court of Appeal. You all remember that sometime last year, the Federal High Court has set aside any step taken by the Kano State government in reinstating the Emir of Kano, Sanusi, Lamida Sanusi. Forgive me by saying Emir of Kano. Currently, you cannot actually tell who the Emir of Kano is. So by Emir of Kano here, I mean Sanusi, Lamida Sanusi. The court set aside his reinstatement because, according to the court, there was an order directing the Kano State government to go back to the status quo antebellum before the passage of the new law, which, according to the court, Kano State government flouted that order, and that was why the Federal High Court said any step taken by the Kano State High Court in reinstating Emir Sanusi was null and void. That was one thing that we should all understand. Another development was that this ruling was appealed by the appellant, who is Aminu Babada, who is a kingmaker, and it is that appeal that culminated into another ruling that was passed earlier this year, I think in January, by the same Court of Appeal, saying that the ruling of the Federal High Court, which nullifies the reinstatement of Sanusi, was done without jurisdiction, meaning Federal High Court had no business dabbling into chieftaincy matter. And so for that reason, the order nullifying Sanusi's reappointment was null and void. Now, this same ruling, which is an interlocutory one, has been appealed by Aminu Babada to the Supreme Court. You understand what I mean? So after appealing this, the same appellant now went back to the court and applied for what we call stay of execution. And stay of execution here means, even though the court is of the opinion that the Federal High Court had no jurisdiction last year when it nullified the reinstatement of Sanusi, the appellant was praying to the court to pause or to halt giving any credence or giving effect to the Court of Appeal's January decision saying that the Federal High Court had no jurisdiction, and to, await the opinion of the Supreme Court. And that is what the Court of Appeal today had granted by saying, yes, even though there's a ruling saying that the Federal High Court had no jurisdiction, but everybody has been ordered not to give effect to that ruling pending the outcome of the appeal before the Supreme Court. So that is in essence what has happened today. On one hand, you have Emir Sanusi saying the nullification of my reinstatement has been voided by the court, and therefore he's a winner there. And on the other hand, you have the other Emir, Adu Bayero and Amin Babada Agundi, who is the appellant there, saying, although you have this judgment, or this ruling which has nullified your reinstatement, that ruling cannot be given credence. No effect can be given to that ruling pending the outcome of the appeal before the Supreme Court. And in essence, this means right now, the two sides should exercise restraint and should maintain status quo pending the determination of the appeal before the Supreme Court.
All right, I really needed to let you explain that in detail for us to understand a bit as much as we can. But talk to us about the implication for the governance, this tussle itself. How does it impact the role and autonomy of traditional rulers like emirs within Nigeria's legal and political framework?
Well, this is a bit quasi-legal. It's not entirely legal, but I will answer by saying that the traditional institution has been a long-standing one. It has a very long-standing history in Nigeria, and it only benefits everybody in this country, if the institution itself is allowed to cleanse itself and to supervise itself. Personally, I do not even like the idea of allowing state governments of elected officials dabbling into an institution as serious and as important as the traditional institution, because you see politicians taking side with some of these traditional rulers who have a lot of influence over, the lives of the common man. And so generally, if I were to give an advice to the policy makers, I would advise, the establishment of a situation where the traditional institution is allowed to function itself without external influence, and especially political influence.
All right, let me go back a bit to the case and just ask you something that Justice Okunabang emphasized. Emphasized that preserving Sanusi's rights as a former emir who served, he emphasized right about that, who served for 5 years. How significant is this argument in shaping the court's decision?
Well, what I read from elsewhere was that Aminu Ado Bayero was the one that served for 5 years. I'm not sure whether, the judgment actually mentioned, if my records are clear, mentioned Aminu Ado Bayero, who was appointed in 2019 and sacked, or let me say purported to be sacked, by Kano State government in 2024. So that is it, but like I said, the full certified true copy of the judgment is not yet out, and I have seen a lot of contradictory reports. But being someone that has given a lot of opinion and interpretation of this judgment before now, this is a judgment that I have followed closely, and it's a judgment that I think I have the appropriate and the requisite knowledge and information to comment about, and that's why I'm doing this. So actually, it is Aminu Ado Bayero who has served for that much. And it is him who the court feels should be given, the hearing, to have his case argued, even though he's not the appellant there, but he's the direct beneficiary of that appeal before the Supreme Court right now.
All right.
So that's my understanding.
I'm told we're out of time for this conversation, but I want to squeeze in this one. Just to be clear, there is no legally recognized emir of Kano today. Because there are two judgments, and like I told you, I only commented about the judgment of the Federal High Court. There's another judgment of the Kano State High Court, which also has its own legal implication. But if I am to say my mind and to, comment about, my understanding of the implication of today's ruling of the Court of Appeal, I will tell you that both of these emirs have some stake in the emirship of Kano, or in the claim of the throne of Emir of Kano, and both of them right now cannot fully place themselves and claim to be the unanimously upheld Emir of Kano. So there's really a legal tussle, which is a very bad one. And by bad, I mean one that will really take some time and which is very complicated. So, but it is the long and short of it is that the two of them should maintain status quo and pending what the Supreme Court will say. Abba, thank you very much for that very extensive analysis. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
So earlier we told you about the Okuama bloodbath anniversary. Today, Friday, marks 1 year since that incident, a tragic one on March the 14th, 2024, in which 17 Nigerian soldiers on a peace mission to the community in Ugeli South local government area of Delta State were ambushed and killed by unidentified militants. The incident was widely condemned by Nigerians and the international community, but the Nigerian soldiers' reprisal attack brought the Okuama community to ruins, displacing residents before the state government temporarily relocated them to an internally displaced persons camp where they stayed for 8 months. My colleague Austin Azu, who has been covering the Okuama incident from day one, reports how the community members have been faring 1 year after the tragic incident and their demands.
Today is March 14, to remember what happened to us last year, and we are still in the shock because our people is still in the detention. Our President General is still with the military. The order of our leaders, Professor Ekpepo, Honorable Befis Adogbo Malaka, and maybe they are still in the hand of the military. They are still in the detention suffering. So we are here today to tell the federal government, please, all our expectation, let our leaders be released. Let the body of our President General be released to us. Because where we are requesting for this, because we know nothing about the crisis that happened.
All we want, make our president do for us. May he come build the community for us. May he come open school for us. And may he bring food. Most of selfly, may he release those our people. Those people is our eye in this community. Priest and priest. We are begging. We are pleading. Priest and priest. Let our people be released. And let the Okuama community build back. Okuama will be called New Okuama.
We are here today in March 2025 to mark the day to make it 1 year. We are here to appeal to the federal government, the state government, and Nigeria Army that our leaders that they are in custody, they should release them for us. Then let this community be rebuilt again.
In just 4 months after local government elections held in Rivers State, the Supreme Court ruled that the process did not follow stipulated guidelines and sacked all 23 chairmen that came to power through that election. A few days after, the Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission announced the 9th of August this year for a fresh election. Meanwhile, INEC has released voters' registration to Rivers State Electoral Body, signaling its approval. In the meantime, residents of Rivers State are demanding that their votes to actually count this time. They are worried that they would have to go through another electioneering process, a situation they describe as gross mismanagement of state funds. While hoping for a seamless process, they warned that they may lose confidence in the credibility of the elections in the state should the process fail, and urged INEC and the state electoral umpire to be more thorough this time. Let's also tell you that the Rivers State House of Assembly has adjourned plenary indefinitely. The House voted to close its sessions indefinitely after passing into law 3 bills during its plenary. Governor Fubara had on Thursday written the Speaker informing the House of his intention to represent the 2025 Appropriation Bill before the Assembly. The National Transformation Initiative for Reconciliation and Forgiveness Advocacy is calling on President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to intervene in the ongoing dispute between Senate President Godswill Akpabio and suspended Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan. The group says the feud, stemming from a Senate seating arrangement dispute, has spiraled out of control and is now attracting global attention. Speaking at a press conference in Abuja, the group's executive secretary, Yusuf Ibrahim, described the situation as needless and called for urgent intervention.
In view of the collateral damage being done to the image of the entire country, we want to use this medium to appeal to Mr. President, as father of the nation, to call all the parties to order. The unfortunate favors the sitting arrangement reshuffled has generated, and even taking center stage in national discourse, is appealing, uncalled for, and allegation that follows were ill-timed, hence it could have been avoided.
In the past few weeks, it's unfortunate that this distraction came like a bolt out of the blue. And if we look at it, since the dawn of this administration, the President has enjoyed a very fruitful working relationship with the Nigerian Senate particularly and the entire National Assembly. We know that for the political naysayers, they are not very comfortable with this. There are fiendish elements, anti-patriotic elements who may not want that peace to continue. And they will also easily cash in on any such agenda as this to inflame, exacerbate, or magnify the situation at hand.
Sudan has suspended all imports from Kenya in protest after the paramilitary rapid support forces who are fighting the army in a 2-year civil war were hosted in Nairobi. Last month, the RSF and its allied political and armed groups signed a founding charter in Kenya, expressing the intention to form a parallel government in Sudan. Sudan's military government said the import ban was to preserve the country's sovereignty and protect its national security. The war-torn country imports several products from Kenya, including tea, food items, and pharmaceutical products. A decree issued by Sudan's Ministry of Trade ordered that all relevant authorities enforce the ban immediately. And to one of our headline stories tonight, Mark Carney is making his first speech after being sworn in as Canada's new Prime Minister as the country faces a trade war standoff with Donald Trump. Press Watch Live in a ceremony, Carney swears allegiance to King Charles. The new PM may call a snap election within days, according to Canadian media. His words, "We're going to get straight to work." It made this known to reporters when he arrived for the ceremony. Carney will head to Europe on his first overseas trip as Prime Minister rather than the US, as is customary. Want a short break? We'll be right back. Just stay with us. Time for some business update. Joanna, here manufacturers are earning big time from exporting.
Indeed, and that's just what our economy needs. Hopefully we get more and more of that into our economy, right? Money from exports. I'll send you or bring you more details after this break.
Business news in association with Money Master PSB, the easy way to master your money.
Nigeria's manufacturers earned 494.2 billion naira from exports in Q4 2024, marking a 110% increase from 235 billion naira in the same period of 2023. This is according to Nigeria's latest foreign trade report. Although exports fell by 52.5% compared to the previous quarter, manufactured goods accounted for 24.5% of the total 8.97 trillion in trade. The top export commodity was unwrought aluminium alloys, mainly to Japan and China. Africa led regional exports with 215.9 billion naira, followed by Asia and Europe. Manufacturers also imported 8.5 trillion naira worth of goods, citing exchange rate volatility as the cause of the high raw materials and machinery import bill. And Uganda is turning to commercial banks for borrowing as alternative financing options dwindle. The country's debt to these banks has reached $2 billion, while pressure mounts to fund key energy and transport projects. This week, Uganda is seeking a $190 million loan from local banks led by Stanbic Bank Uganda Limited to settle Umeme Limited exit plans. This payment stems from the expiration of Umeme's 20-year power distribution concession in March 2025. And AVZ Minerals secured a crucial legal win against DRC and Zijin Mining over the Manono lithium mines. The ICC ruled DRC's communier must pay a €39.1 million penalty for violating joint venture agreements. This follows the DRC's 2023 revocation of AVZ's mining rights, which were then granted to Zijin, sparking the legal battle. AVZ, previously delisted amid the dispute, intends to recover the penalty. Notably, the Australian firm is actively pursuing funding from US-based parties to advance the Manono project, a globally significant lithium deposit. And coming to the local bourse, the week is ending in the red. We lost about 0.25% on the markets today. All share index is down 0.25%, about 166 billion naira lost when it comes to all, the market capitalization. 66.35 trillion naira is where we are at. All share index is at 105,955.13. Sectoral performances was also in the negative. Just one sector up today. Banking is down, Insurance is the sole sector up 0.5%. Oil and gas down 0.18%. Consumer goods down as well. Industrial goods as well down marginally. Hopefully next week brings better luck for the NGX and for investors. That's it on Business Tonight. I am Joanna Mustafa. Tonight continues with Felicity.
Business news in association with Money Master PSB, the easy way to master your money.
Onyinye is here with all the latest in sports. Starting in Enugu, I hear they're hosting their first ever marathon.
Yes, they are. For all those who hail from that state, they will be so proud at the moment because all road leads to the coal city come May 2025. I'll tell you more about that shortly.
Can't wait.
Sports Update, brought to you by Kano Oil. Kano Oil, we go the extra mile.
In sport, Enugu State is set to make history as it prepares to host its first ever international marathon on May 3rd, 2025. The Enugu City Marathon, a World Athletics certified event, will bring together elite athletes and running enthusiasts from across the globe to compete in a race that promises to be both thrilling and unforgettable. The marathon, which aims to showcase the rich culture and resilience of the coal city, will take runners through carefully mapped out courses, highlighting the beauty and landscape of Enugu State. The event is expected to attract top-tier athletes, amateur runners, and fitness enthusiasts eager to test their endurance on the international stage. With Enugu State positioning itself as a hub for sport and tourism, the Enugu City Marathon is expected to put the city on a global athletics map while promoting fitness and community spirit. Moving away from that, 4 Nigerian referees have arrived in Zambia to officiate the FIFA Under-17 Women's World Cup qualifying match between Zambia and Tanzania. Yemisi Akintoye of the Lagos State Council will serve as the center referee, supported by assistant referee Fon Friday Akpan from Akwa Ibom and Beauty Kabende from the FCT Council. Ogun State Fumilayo Alaba will be the 4th official. All 4 of the FIFA badge referees with experience in the continental competitions and have officiated in both FIFA and CAF international matches. Before traveling to Angola, Zambia, the referees were actively involved in Nigeria's top-tier league, the Nigeria Premier Football League, last weekend, using the matches as a preparatory exercise for their international assignment. Mohamed Salah has been announced as the winner of the Premier League Player of the Month of February. Another record-breaking month for the Egyptian as he becomes the player with the most assists in a single Premier League season for Liverpool. Salah matched the record of most EA Sport Player of the Month held by Sergio Aguero and Harry Kane. His previous awards came in November 2017, February 2018, March 2018, October 2021, October 2023, and November 2024. The Egypt international has now 54 goal contributions in 42 games in all competitions, with 44 coming in the Premier League alone. Marcus Rashford has been recalled by Thomas Tuchel as he announced his first word as England head coach for the March World Cup qualifiers. England play Albania and Latvia at Wembley in their first World Cup for the 2026 qualifiers. Rashford was frozen out by new Manchester United head coach Ruben Amorim in December, but his form has been impressive since joining Aston Villa on loan in January. He has been rewarded with the return to England setup, having last featured for the Three Lions in March last year as a substitute against Brazil at Wembley. Finally, in the world of sport, 2-time world champion Anthony Joshua could be in line for a rematch with Daniel Dubois after the WBO ordered Alexander Usyk and Joseph Parker to begin negotiations for a mandatory heavyweight title fight. The governing body has given Usyk and Parker 30 days to agree on terms following Parker's victory against Martin Bakuli last month. The WBO emphasized this as an official statement. The development shifts the heavyweight title picture, potentially paving the way for Anthony Joshua to get another shot at Daniel Dubois, who defeated Anthony Joshua via knockout at Wembley Stadium last September. Anthony Joshua had initially been expected to fight Daniel Dubois in an immediate rematch earlier this year, but concerns over his fitness postponed the fight. With Usyk and Parker now mandated to negotiate, Joshua may get his chance to reclaim his standing in the heavyweight division. And that's it in the world of sport. I am Onyinyechi Obaru. Back to Felicity Ezewike.
Nigerians are celebrating another milestone with Afrobeats. My colleague is here. There were all the latest.
Yes.
Rema
is making us proud. Again, you know, it's like I always used to say, Afrobeats is taking another level. Now we're getting that recognition globally. And Rema just made a cover of a very prestigious magazine. But I'm going to be giving you the details shortly.
Entertainment news in association with Glow Unlimited.
All right, now let's get right into the entertainment. Well, I call it celebrations, as Nigerian Afrobeat sensation Rema has landed a Rolling Stones prestigious Future of Music cover, solidifying his status as a global force in the genre. At just 24, Rema has already made history, becoming the youngest Nigerian artist nominated for the Grammy in the Best Global Music Album category. In his interview, he reflects on his journey, his impact on Afrobeat, and his mission to inspire rising talents from Benin City. Yes, back to the roots. Now, with his record-breaking hit Calm Down surpassing 1 billion Spotify streams, Rema continues to push Afrobeats into the international spotlight. Despite facing personal hardships, his resilience has propelled him to the top, you know, redefining the sound of Afrobeat for a new generation. You see what he's doing right there?
Hard time. Rema cannot be facing hard time.
No,
I'm a fan. I'm a big fan. He cannot be facing hard time. Tell me about
no,
this.
the hard times is talking about his growing up, you know, his child, well,
okay, that is in the past.
He's in the past.
And
yes.
you made it sound like it's now. Please,
Sorry.
you don't want any stress with
no,
him.
he's all right. He's doing well. He's doing well.
Congratulations to him.
Yes, congratulations to Rema. I'm talking about somebody who is not really doing well. Let's go internationally. I'm talking about Diddy. Now, Sean Diddy Combs is now accusing CNN of manipulating security footage from the 2016 hotel incident involving his ex-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura. Yeah. Now, Diddy, his defense team claims forensic analysis proves that CNN removed timestamps, changed the video sequence, and sped up the clip to exaggerate the alleged attack. Now, they also allege CNN destroyed the original footage despite being aware of the federal investigation. CNN has denied all accusations, slating the footage was not altered and that the original remains with the source. Now, the controversial video, which shows Diddy chasing and assaulting Ventura, has been a key piece of evidence, definitely, that they're going to be using during the trial. But initially, Diddy, he apologized, claiming his actions were, you know, inexcusable, but later changed his stance, arguing that the encounter was consensual. Felicity, okay, I know you don't like to talk about Diddy, but just what do you have to say to this?
Manipulated or not, there is evidence of violence. A woman being punched,
kicked, dragged on the floor.
Technicalities is killing our legal system, not just in Nigeria, but across the world. You see somebody committing a crime and they go off on a technicality because something was... I just don't want to get into it.
Okay, relax. It's okay. Let's just continue thinking about Rema and let's be happy.
Yes, I want to be happy. Rema makes me happy, so...
All right. Well, that's all on entertainment tonight, by the way.
And that's the news tonight. But before we go, just a reminder of our top stories. Appeal Court halts enforcement of reinstatement of Muhammadu Sanusi II as Emir of Kano. No end in sight to Rivers' political crisis as lawmakers adjourn plenary indefinitely. And off our shores, Canada's new Prime Minister Mark Carney has vowed his country would never become part of the U.S. amid trade war standoff. Would love to hear from you. Please send your eyewitness reports to the number showing now on your screen. You can follow us on all social media platforms to do that as well. News Central TV is live on DSTV channel 422, Gold TV channel 23, Star Times channel 274, Apple TV, and on YouTube. As always, it's been a pleasure bringing you the news. Thanks for your time.